Hi everyone, Marta here from Calgary Real Estate and Lepage Solutions. Just hopping on late night at the office, thought I'd share with you our market report for this past month before we get all entangled in the Christmas spirit, which I hope you have a very good Christmas and a Happy New Year if I don't see you. But here is the latest news media release from the Calgary Real Estate Board. I thought I'd share with you what has been happening in the market this past month, and as we move forward into December, we'll see how that goes. I'll do another update in January. Okay, so overall, sitting below long-term average, November sales in the city totaled 1,171 units. For the year so far, sales activity has totaled 15,349 units. This is a 14% decline over last year and nearly 20% below long-term averages. Recent challenges in the energy sector have weighed on consumer confidence over the past month. But of course, we know this has been happening for the past 3 years. People are on the fence, right? They're wondering things are going to get worse, and hopefully they aren't. Hopefully we'll see improvement going into the spring this year. It's already been 3 years, so we are definitely ready for it, right? Combined with weakness in the employment market and further gains in lending rates, this is impacting ownership demand. However, this is according to our chief economist Anne-Marie Lurie. New listings eased by 7% in November compared to last year. The adjustment in new listing has helped prevent further inventory gains, but levels remain well above the 5,683 units in inventory seen last year, and this is a 32% higher than typical level for November. Higher inventories and weaker sales are resulting in buyers' market conditions and price declines. So we have lots of amazing properties on the market right now, is what that says, with lots of great price points. So if you're in the market to buy, this is a great time. Citywide benchmark price was $4,022 and $600 in November, nearly 1% lower than last month and over 3% below last year's levels. So if you consider, having bought something 3 years ago, you have to take that into account. Then you have to take the decline the year before into account, as well as the decline the year before that. And I don't want to scare you, but we're here to help you and to tell you the truth of where you stand, what you can expect before you get entangled in it all. So is it possible to sell right now? Yes, there are still buyers looking out there. They're looking for great deals, but you have to be very realistic if you're on the selling side. For the buying side, there's just so much great selection right now. It's amazing. If I won $1 million, I'd be buying at least 3 properties. So keep that in mind. Buy those lottery tickets and get back in the market. Year to date, sales have slowed across all price ranges except product price below $200,000, which now represents nearly 6% of all sales. The largest decline in sales has occurred in the $600,000 to $1 million range. So this just goes in alignment with what I've been telling all my clients that I felt was happening. So it's nice to see it stated in writing. Of course, it's horrible that it's happening, but you got to think about that sector. So the 600 to a million range, this was our oil people that have bought properties, right? Which unfortunately have been hit so hard, and many have lost their jobs. And that's why we see that part of the market struggling, and there's more declines there because people were purchasing for what they were able to afford with that security of that job, but it didn't necessarily mean that they could sustain it without that. So that is something to keep in mind. Obviously below that is our more popular price range, because that is what the average Canadian is more likely to afford. We do see movement in the $1 million to $1.5 million range for the higher end, but above the 2 million and then going into the 3, there's definitely more struggle there as well. On one hand, there's definitely way more deals and more money to be made if you can get into that market, but something to keep in mind. So Detached sector, overall other housing market facts. Sales declined across all districts in November with citywide sales of 679 units. Activity remains 21% below typical levels for the month. New listings eased by 3% for the detached sector compared to last year due to declines mostly in the Northeast, North, and Southeast districts. Year to date, new listings this year have increased in all areas except the Northeast and East districts. So people, for some reason, are holding on to their properties there and staying put. Not as many listings on the market for the detached there. What else can I share with you? Inventories in the detached sector totaled 3,491 units, 26% higher than last year's levels. Months of supply sits at 5 months, well above the 3-month typical for November. Detached benchmark prices totaled $4,8600 in November, a 1% decline over last month and a 3% decline over last year. This is nearly 7% below monthly highs recorded in October of 2014. Prices have eased across all districts in November on a year-to-year basis. The largest declines this year have occurred in the Northeast and North districts. This is likely due to the increased competition from the new home sector because there's lots of new builds being put on there. The districts that remain furthest from price recovery are the Northwest and South districts. Apartments. So, good news is we have seen year-over-year gains in sales in November for apartments. Citywide apartment sales have totaled 2,557 units so far this year. This is 5% lower than last year and 21% below long-term averages. The majority of activity in condos is located within the city center, representing nearly 48% of all the sales activity. Following years of oversupply, the number of new listings in the apartment sector continues to ease, helping prevent further significant gains in inventories and even contributing to inventory reductions in the Southeast and Northeast districts. Despite some adjustments in inventories, however, most areas continue to struggle with oversupply, causing further price declines. Price declines this year have ranged from a high of nearly 6% in the East District to a low of 2% in both the City Center and Northwest districts. Last but not least is the attached sector. Year to date, attached sales totaled 3,344 units. That is a 16% decline over the previous year and 14% below long-term averages. Sales activity eased across most districts except for the Northeast, where sales remained relatively stable because of improvements in row activity. Overall, rising new listings continue to place upward pressure on inventory levels, and the gains have mostly occurred with semi-detached product. Oversupply conditions have weighed on prices. In November, the semi-detached benchmark price totaled $400,700. This is a monthly and year-over-year decline of 0.67% and 3.3% respectively. Recent price declines have caused this sector to erase any of the gains that occurred last year, as year-to-date prices remain comparable to 2017 levels. Rural prices have also been edging down, but at a slower pace than semi-detached product. As of November, rural prices were $2,092.9, a 0.2% decline from last month and just over 3% below last year's levels. Overall, year-to-date, prices remain nearly 2% below last year's levels and nearly 10% below previous highs. So, basically, we have lots of amazing properties on the market. There's obviously still a challenge with things selling. Sales have been slower, of course, compared to the past years that we've seen. And we are hoping for things to improve going into the spring. But, What will happen, nobody fully knows as of this moment. It depends on so many variables, and only time will tell. But there are people in the market, there are people buying, people still need properties all year round. And no matter what the market is doing, it doesn't mean that yours is not going to successfully sell. So, if you do have any questions, you're wondering where you currently sit with your own property, feel free to connect anytime. You can call 403-667-7220 to connect with me directly, or email marta@royallepage.ca. Okay, thanks. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat again soon.